Thank you, sir. My name is Kumar. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Myanmar Airways International and also Air KBZ. And I've been in the aviation industry for a bit more than 10 years now. In my background, I've worked in the aviation industry with AirAsia, Malindo, Lion Group, as well as Malaysia Airlines prior to moving here. This is my 5th year running with MAI, and I'm happy to say that we have gone through COVID-19, and I'm just happy to have you here today to share my views on these questions. So during the past 2 years, firstly, I would like to say that we're very proud that we were one of the few carriers in the region and the only Myanmar carrier who did not suspend our operations in view of the pandemic because we maintained essential services to key hubs in the region, including to Kuala Lumpur, Seoul Incheon, Dubai International, and Guangzhou. We carefully selected these international hubs to ensure that we can operate sustainably plus consistently, providing much needed flight options for passengers who wants to travel in and out of Myanmar despite the commercial flight suspension in tandem with our codeshare and interlines partners. Besides that, of course, like any other carriers around the world, we did a lot of repatriation flights, or we call it relief flights, on behalf of the Myanmar government and Myanmar embassies abroad, as well as we did charters for identified key partners from oil and gas and shipping companies. We also took a bit of risk by launching semi-scheduled flights, which means these flights carried only passengers outside from Myanmar with no inbound passengers. So there was a bit of a commercial risk on our side, but it was well calculated, and it was meant to keep our aircraft on the air so we can reduce the fixed cost. And that eventually led one to another on a positive note, and we ended up doing daily flights to Kuala Lumpur. I think that's another first and something that we are really proud of. And finally, last but not least, other than passenger flights, we did a lot of cargo flights. Just to give you a perspective, before COVID-19, about 3 to 4% of our revenue profile were cargo. But during COVID-19, about 50% of our revenue and flights were cargo, including, I think you've seen some of the publicity before, flights to Kunming and flights to China, flights to Singapore. We kept pretty much these flights moving so that our air freight does not stop, especially for the fisheries industry as well as the garment industry. So those were the key areas that kept us going. At the end of the day, in summary, I think we're very proud that we carried more than 1 million passengers during the suspension of commercial flights and about 30 million kilograms of cargo. Just international flights, we operated nearly 6,000 flights in total, sir. At present, sir, we notice a very high demand for domestic travelers, simply because we notice two aspects. Number one, people are still quite uncertain of traveling abroad because a lot of restrictions or a lot of issues in terms of financial perspective. At the same time, we also notice shrinking supply in terms of number of seats in the market. For example, we have local airlines who have stopped operations or have downsized their fleet. Further to this, of course, due to the pent-up demand, even domestically, if you realize during COVID-19, people movement were restricted to curb the COVID-19 spread in the country. So essentially what this has drove is the domestic demand to go up because people just love to travel and spend time with their loved ones outside of their homes, outside of their norm. As a result, we have noticed substantial upside, especially to, I'm very happy to say, to key destinations like Tanwe, Ngapali Beach, Nya U, Hei Ho, and Mandalay. As an airline, we are continuing to explore opportunities. So example, I'm very happy to say that MAI is the only carrier operating minimum 2 Airbus a day on Yangon Mandalay flights. That means we have upgauged to a bigger aircraft. And as of this moment, we are the only carrier operating jet flights into Ngapali, Tanwe with E190 operations. Our future plan pretty much hinges on 3 main pillars. So the first pillar would be our network. So we will continue to solidify our network for our travelers to ensure we provide convenient travel patterns for our guests while maintaining network integrity. Pretty much in airline industry, network integrity at this point is not on par because many flights are being cancelled. If you notice, even operators to Myanmar are cancelling their flights due to the restrictions. But from MAI perspective, if you notice the past couple of months, we have increased our frequencies, especially to Kuala Lumpur, Guangzhou, Hanoi, and Phnom Penh. And number two is we will continue to introduce new destinations within this pillar so that we can operate to more point-to-point destinations, giving passengers the flexibility not to go via transit and save their time. And of course, cost. Lastly, on a broader perspective, we are working ever more closely with our codeshare interlines partners, more than 30 of them, to expand our codeshare offers to the final destination, meaning that although MAI, due to our fleet size, due to our capability, we are restricted, but we are not restricted in terms of how far the passengers can go. This is the first pillar. Second pillar is technology. So beside networks, we are fully focused on technology so that we can reach out to our guests and our trade partners alike with ease of use digital solutions. We have started friendly and automated solutions, reducing human intervention, driving efficiency. We have improved our call center, for example. We have improved our backend system that supports 2 different carriers. We have solidified into one. We have made our online website ever more flexible with flexible payment channels. And those are the areas that we are improving, considering in the current situation of security, with curfews, with getting to places. We want to make sure that people can still reach the airline through their mobile devices and also by telephone. Finally, last but not least, customer focus. We want to really be a customer-centric airline, so we are expanding our ancillary offerings and value add-ons beyond the traditional add-ons that other airlines provide. I think in the market, we are quite unique in that sense because we have special partnership with a banking and finance company called UAB. We have MAI Extra app, we have UAB Visa co-branded card, and we also have the Sky Deals program whereby it's a boarding pass program that if you just show across our 80 partners, you enjoy up to 30 to 40% discount. And of course, we have our loyalty program called Sky Smile. So these are the areas that we are reaching out today to customers. So network is a typical airline bread and butter, but beyond network is technology to give accessibility to our partners and guests, and also customer focus so that they enjoy traveling with us. Thank you for these questions. I think it's quite a sensitive question, but I'll try to address it. In general, we appreciate the open sky policy as it brings more option to the consumers in terms of pricing and types of services. But at the same time, we are a strong believer that open sky policy could also be detrimental to a nation's own aviation growth, which may be stunted due to competitor scale and financial strength. As you know, Myanmar's aviation market, despite a long history, it's still at an infancy stage. Hence, the focus should be two-pronged. Number one, adopting the open sky policy step by step, while number two, supporting the building of a formidable homegrown carrier, which is competitive and reliable to compete in the regional level. The experience of an open sky policy differs. Historically, this is well-known data. You can refer to when Kazakhstan joined the open sky policy back in 2009, or the India when they opened up to an open sky policies back in 1990s. The result of this was in Kazakhstan, for example, the European carriers, they bombarded the Kazakhstan market to the point that the Kazakhstan aviation airlines couldn't grow. And the same happened with India, with Middle East carriers, the big three coming in. And now you can see a shift in those policies. The Kazakhstan government have totally changed their policies. They have restricted the number of flights that European carriers can operate. And you have seen a well-known brand, Air Astana, growing and now reaching beyond their borders and well-known brand. The same is happening right now as we speak with India. You can notice that in order to compete with the big three carriers from Middle East, Air India is now going all out in a public-private partnership whereby it has been privatized to Tata and Sons. So this shows us that in summary, the adaptation of open sky policy should be balanced between a nation's own aviation ambitions to compete with regional players, but at the same time, it must be achieved with commercial mindset and efficiency of scale. Prior to the open sky policy, we have major stagnant growth in the aviation. We totally accept this, but that was due to not having that public-private partnership in place. So it is critical not only to ratify the open sky policy, we must also understand how nuanced or detailed the policy is, and we must keep track of how other markets are treating Myanmar homegrown carriers when it comes to Myanmar homegrown carriers trying to launch flights to those markets. So this is to make sure that Myanmar-based carriers are not curtailed in their growth. I would say not on a monthly basis, maybe a bit longer than that, but on a monthly basis, we face issues when it comes to immigration and customs policy. So primarily passport renewal, passport issuance, which is still ongoing. So there's a lot of backlog issues when it comes to passport approvals. On Myanmar side, what we notice is it comes quite abruptly, and it also disturbing our flights, for example, pilgrimage flights to Gaia. So that is one area. The next is more of an operational constraint. This is not just specific to Myanmar, but beyond Myanmar. So we have noticed issues with slots in airports, manpower constraints with ground handlers, and that drives down the SLA levels and service delivery. We are noticing this across the board in Bangkok, in Singapore, in Kuala Lumpur. More than that, we are also facing it internally because a lot of our Myanmar staff are leaving this country to join foreign companies. So that is one. Domestically, we are also facing fuel supply issues outside of Yangon, for example, Dawei, Koh Tong, certain places. But I hope this can be resolved because operationally it's impacting our payload and flights. Of course, as you may know, financial restrictions are another area. Overseas remittance is a big issue for us, especially in US dollars. As you know, nearly 60 to 70% of aviation industry is denominated in US dollars. Our aircraft lease, fuel, ground handling payments. Hence, this causes a lot of issues because we need to every time get approval from the central bank, for example. And last but not least, the rate of exchange. Not only the rate of exchange, but the fluctuating nature of rate of exchange. This also is very critical. So these are, I would say, day-to-day pains or struggles that we go through, but it really depends on how long the period is on the specific subject. From MAI perspective is very simple. We just want to be the preferred carrier, a carrier that would make the country proud at every level, from the passenger who fly with us, the partners who do business with us, the ticketing and the travel agents who sell our tickets. So which means that across the board. And how do we plan to achieve this? Simply by four main areas. Number one, wider network at a reasonable price. So we want to continue to offer unique destination in terms of network and frequency to Myanmar travelers and beyond. And we aim to connect as many key markets as possible. At the same time, we want to provide these flights at a reasonable price based on the restrictions and issues that we have in Myanmar, so that the passengers can travel conveniently but affordably. So we will continue to do that. Today, if you take a step back in Myanmar, we have the biggest market share and capacity share. But more than that, from a network perspective, we have the largest network in and out of Myanmar. That tells you that we are really pushing the envelope. A lot of these destinations were not served before, even by MAI or any other Myanmar carrier. So that shows that we are really moving forward. Two is product differentiation and customized offer. So we believe in customizing our offer as a home-based carrier that foreign carriers could not provide. So for example, our business class passengers traveling today, when you buy our business class ticket, you're automatically entitled to the VIP lounge, which means first class service at check-in and boarding, but business class service on board. And these are the differentiation that is exclusive to us that other airlines cannot provide. Other than that, because we are a Myanmar-based carrier and we know the Myanmar travel segment, we have specific products for Myanmar pilgrimage for monks and nuns, Myanmar students, Myanmar seafarers, because these are the key segments, niche segments which are specific to Myanmar market. With foreign carriers will not understand if you're just operating 1 or 2 flights a day. So this is the additional product differentiation. Third one is simply growing the extra mile. As a home-based carrier, we want to be empathetic and we want to be touching in our services delivery. So we want to win the guest heart and be customer first in our mindset. So MAI is active in terms of providing stretcher on board, oxygen on board, pets in cabin. I think we are the only one in this region still doing this despite all the limitation and challenges that we face with even the foreign airports, because we do not have the right tools, but somehow we managed to do it. And because of that, a lot of Myanmar travelers still like and prefer to fly with MAI. Last but not least, I think it's very critical, relationship with partners, whether it's travel agents or ticketing agents, tour agents, travel associations, whether it's AMTA, MTM, Ministry of Hotel and Tourism, Ministry of Transport and Communication. We want to work with everyone so that we can push Myanmar as a destination, especially that we have weathered through the COVID-19 period. Secondly, we are also working with strategic partners, be it banking and finance, healthcare, in a more holistic manner so that we can give passengers something that is worth more than just an air ticket and create an ecosystem that they will be very happy to be in. I think the government can help in 3 ways. Firstly, destination marketing. I think Myanmar is in a tough position to position itself versus all the other marketing markets in this region. So if you're going against Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, of course Myanmar is lagging behind because of whatever perception that other countries may have. So I think we need to have a holistic point of view on how we can reach out to the markets which are relevant to us today. So ASEAN, China, India, and the Northeast markets, Northeast Asia markets like Japan, Korea, these should be our target markets. And we should reach out to them because they are more friendlier to Myanmar and they don't mind coming to Myanmar because they see us as brothers. So we should do a proper hotel and tourism should come together and do a proper marketing effort that is driven at a ministerial level down with private entities and tourism bodies so that we can reach out at the ministerial level or the big players in those markets. Secondly is policies related to aviation. This is again a sensitive topic. We should review aviation as a catalyst that opens up the entire value chain. So according to IATA, every dollar that is generated in the air transport industry is equivalent to $3.25 along the supply chain. Every job created in air transport industry is equivalent to 6.1 jobs created in the value chain. So we should not put a chokehold or stranglehold on that aviation part. We should relax. Today we are facing with high airport tax. We are facing with inbound visa restriction, which means that passengers in the total amount of fare or the cost to travel to Myanmar itself put them off than coming to Myanmar, which means that we are not getting everything else along the value chain. We should reverse it. We should make things more relaxed at the start, and eventually when the volume has driven up, then we can look at putting a bit more premium along the supply chain. So these are the areas I think we should make it more conducive, that Myanmar becomes a standout among all the other countries, despite of the politics, despite of the reputation. And lastly, as a Myanmar airline, which goes back to all the previous, we should find ways and means to reduce the challenges that we face. So whether it's with finance and banking, whether it's with the ROE, whether it's with visa regime in and outbound, and passport issuance, so that we as a Myanmar carrier, at the end of the day, we are a Myanmar-based carrier. We fly the Myanmar flag and we just want to make Myanmar proud. So we are in a better position to compete with the larger giants who are coming in from our neighboring countries. So I think these are the 3 main areas. But the point number 3 is a bit more complex because this is not just transport related, it's finance related, hotel and tourism, many areas are related, but we have to really look into the importance of travel and tourism to the country and how it can change the mindset of the people and we should find ways to make the restrictions a bit more relaxed.